this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and this interview that he had with the BBC and hate speech and all this other kind of stuff that they try to say has had a tick in Twitter as he took over, and so he just asked for examples, and of course they can't name any examples, so I want to talk about that. Also, I came across a video on social media, which is funny because I came across another one last night on TikTok that I going to reply to probably when I get done with this broadcast, about people who have backgrounds in some kind of biology or something, and them claiming that there's just kind of a disassociation either with gender and biology. But in this case, the video I'm going to show you guys today, someone is saying that basically is disregarding biological sex. And so I think it's important to talk about, because as people keep bringing up gender identity, I think the purpose of it is eventually just to evolve into none of it matters at all. So I do think it's important to hold firm ground on all that. And also NPR is very upset because Twitter, I guess, was labeling them as government funded. They are, so I don't know what the deal is, but they announced they were leaving Twitter and just raged quit. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to me anyway. So those are a couple things that we'll be touching on today. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteennews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. Please check out different. I just dropped an article today about what I touched on and talked about yesterday, as far as Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden using language like rapist child to refer to when they talk about the unborn and conceived in sexual assault situations, when in any other situation they wouldn't acknowledge they're a child. So whether you're pro-choice or you're pro-life, I think it's very important to have compassion, especially with this particular topic. So I just want people to caution themselves and don't use such stigmatizing language, because there are women who decide to go through with their pregnancies, and something that makes it harder is the stigma that we place on them as a society, like they're carrying some kind of stain that needs to be removed, when the truth is that they're carrying a human being who's worthy of life and dignity. So even if you disagree with me on this issue, I just ask that we do better as a society. So that article's on blackteennews.com, and you can check out other ones that I've written as well. Make sure that you guys are signing up for emails and different updates. If you can support at blackteennews.com, I ask that you do. You can go to the donate page. It costs to stream, costs to run my website. There's other things like different equipment and stuff that I'd like to be able to get for Black Tea News. We talked yesterday a bit about how the White House is building an army of social media influencers, and knowing the sort of like TikTokers and stuff they've gone to in the past, this is like propaganda. They're like talking about like giving them their own like briefing room and stuff. So if they're gonna do that to indoctrinate the young minds of young voters who are very passionate, at least that we saw in the midterm, then we have to continue to up our game as far as what kind of content that we continue to put out, to not just content, but going out and talking to people and reaching people. So if you can help with Black Tea News expand and grow, God bless you. I just sent out an email making that appeal, but I also did share some numbers that I had from like my past month on YouTube, and so I'm doing well with my growth, and I owe that a lot to you guys. But if you would like to help us get there a little bit faster with some of the stuff that we're doing, I ask that you do support in that way. Otherwise, if you're watching on Facebook, you can do stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you can do super chats, etc. Or if you can't, I thank you guys for watching live, for commenting, for liking. I see you guys are very engaged with each other. Normally, that all helps bring engagement, and engagement, just growth helps growth, so thank you very much. Also check out different merch on the store. I'm actually wearing One of the shirts is Club XX, a lifetime membership. So that's a shirt that's at the store. So you guys can, I'll show, I don't have a picture of only that, but I do have a picture of it with other like gender related stuff somewhere. Yeah, like the XX woman and other stuff. So yeah, the XX Club, that's the one I got on right now. The shirt, the t-shirt. So yeah, you guys can pick up other stuff that I have. I wore yesterday. What shirt did I wear yesterday? I wore this one. And but you guys really you guys did like this one. But you guys really like this one. So go ahead and check out different merch at the store. And I'll be adding some new merch soon. So just make sure you guys are signing up for updates. Also, my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, is available for pre-order. So this is what it looks like from like Barnes and Noble. Isn't that neat? I've never had usually when I've had my books, they're all just available on Amazon. So I have 15 books that are published. This is the first one I'm technically going wide with. So right now you can pre-order the ebook on Kindle, like Amazon, or you can do it on, I guess it's Nook. I think that's Barnes and Noble, but there will be a paperback version. There will also be a hardback. I haven't made that yet, but it'll be available officially on the 26th. So I'm really excited for people to read it. Again, normally when I talk about this issue, I'd be talking like life starts at conception, and it's just a biology. You don't have to be religious to believe that. And then, so I argue that's where our right to life should begin. But then people started saying stuff like, hey, get your God out my uterus. As a matter of fact, that's the first thing I have on the back. And it's so funny watching people read the back of the book and be like, oh, Lord, like, that's what they say. I'm like, that's what they say all the time, all the time. So, and then they start bringing up things biblically, I guess, to shame me because I am a Christian, and be like, did you know God gave an abortion potion? I'm like, that's not true. And so I had to keep debunking things. So eventually it just kind of grew into a book, right? It grew into a book and it just continued from there. And so it covers theology, it covers biology, it covers rights, it covers, why we need moral absolutes. It covers the idea of separation of church and state, what it actually means. And, I try to think of any kind of argument surrounding this issue and put it together in a book. So, I think it's the philosophy in it's really good along with the religious stuff. So, I hope you guys enjoy it, whether you're on the fence about the issue or not. And hopefully, it's a blessing and people learn from it. Oh, thank you guys. Already got, Julia super chat. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm excited about it. I've put a lot of work into it. Someone today, I don't want to make it a long intro or whatever, but I like talking to you guys. So I saw, I made some posts on YouTube today, and someone in my comments mentioned to somebody else that they think that a lot of people use this subject to get clicks. And I agree with that. I think there's a lot of people, especially on TikTok, who will go on and debate abortion or bring it up or whatever every night. And I don't know how many people have conversations because they're interested in changing people's minds, changing their minds or whatever, or they just know that it brings arguments and it brings engagements. And then if you make a good point, someone will gift you with something and etc. I haven't gone live in a while on TikTok, but when I went live at the March for Life, they mass reported my live and got me kicked off for like 2 weeks or something. But yeah, it's not the most fun platform anymore. I used to be a ball, but I think people do genuinely talk about it so much because it is like a hot button topic, and same for like the gender stuff, to be frank. However, I told that person, I'm like, I didn't just write like an 80,000 word book because I wanted likes and clicks. I do a lot of activism. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I talked a lot about Prop 3 in Michigan and trying to stop that from getting passed. And there was so much misinformation. And I knew it was going to pass unless we got enough information out there. But I made commercials for it. I did my darndest to fundraise. I was traveling to churches and going on radio and other stuff like this. So I'm not bringing it up for likes and clicks. Out of all the topics that I talk about, this is the one that I'm most passionate about. And if you found me because of like Dylan Mulvaney or something, I thank you for signing on and subscribing. But I am not just a turf channel. I'm not even a turf. So, shirt aside, I'm not really a turf. But I am a woman. So I am a woman concerned. And the gender stuff, I think it's so important to talk about because I really do feel like it's such a perfect example of cultural Marxism. It's such a perfect example of, and I will just briefly say that as far as like the sort of demoralization with our society and getting them to see something and just totally reject objectivity, this is something that is really measurable, where you have people who just flat out come for biology now, and people who will say, no, that's you guys are wrong. Some things are just rooted in truth. And then there are people who will believe that, but then they will be belittled and bullied until they change their minds and retract. There are people who will stay silent because they're too afraid. It's amazing how you see people just kind of militarize themselves around this issue. So beyond being disturbed about a lot of things, beyond being disturbed about what's going on with their kids, etc., I do think it's such a good kind of metric for like cultural Marxism. And I'll have to explain that more on a different day. I'm not really prepared to go through my whole spiel. I think I'll probably write about it first and then talk about it, because I know you guys think I talk pretty well, but I think I write better as far as like getting some of my thoughts down. So anyway, and maybe I'll compile a special video, but we'll be talking about the gender stuff today too. But yeah, a lot of people do this stuff for likes and clicks. I'm out here. I am trying to make a difference though. I'm not trying to just, I want to cover my overhead and, be able to support myself and stuff like that. But I'm not doing it for the money. Like I'm doing it because I legitimately am concerned about the future of the country. And you cannot believe that, but I'll be here talking regardless. So, face purple crying. Not sure what's... Sorry, I just read a comment out of context. Someone asked, do I do interviews on a podcast about my books? Yes, I do. I'm actually doing a podcast about my books with somebody else let me check. I'll share it on social media so you guys can go to the channel. But I do actually have that scheduled. Let me go to my calendar. The 27th, the day after my book comes out, actually. I think we're going to talk mostly about my nonfiction, about my fiction books. But yeah, I do. So if you want to get in contact about anything, doing any kind of interviews or whatnot, go to blacktnews.com and fill out the contact form. If it's for interviews, if it's for podcasts, if it's for inviting to events and stuff, just go to blacktnews.com and go through the contact form. Thank you very much, Jennifer, about the congratulations on the new book. Thank you, Patriot Girl Tattoo. I'm glad you like my articles. But let's move on into the content for the day. So, okay, so I do have a meme. The meme just starts off going into the Elon Musk story. So, things owned by Elon Musk: Twitter, Tesla, SpaceX, and the BBC. So the BBC, by the way, side note, because I didn't mention this when this happened, but I think it was sometime last week. If you were on Twitter, there was the Deutsch dog logo instead of the bird. And I'm like, that's weird. And then I click something, and then like instead of the bird popping up to transition, it was the dog. And so eventually, and it was like that I think for some days. And then I finally saw like a tweet from Elon Musk saying like promise fulfilled. So someone told him like you should buy Twitter, and they're like, and then you should replace the bird with like the Dogecoin dog. And he said like cool or sweet or awesome or something. So it's pretty funny. I mean, when you own a company, I guess you can do whatever you want, but like it's back to normal now. But I just want to say that I did notice that he changed the logo. Anyway, so he was interviewed by this journalist who claimed, which is a claim a lot of people are making about how the changes to the BBC and I'm not the BBC, but Twitter and stuff. So Elon just totally schooled him by just asking for evidence with his claims.
Or hateful. What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
you
don't.
Can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
my
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been.
So I just do want to butt in for a second that I do actually think the For You feed is a bit better. They did also add like a following feed, so that's good. Because you can do that on like on TikTok or whatever. Just follow videos of what's of people that you actually choose to follow. So I think my feed is better than it used to be before he owned it. It didn't get better like super fast, but I just think kind of more as of late that I think it functions better. But Elon is someone who, he listens to the people on the fly and might tweak stuff or is constantly tweaking with stuff. And there's a lot of transparency that I really appreciate, at least with him running his company and stuff. But so yeah, I just want to add in that I do think the company at large is running better, at least as far as functionality that I've noticed. A lot of people probably disagree though, but my 2 cents.
I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the For You hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean, right, and
literally
if you look at something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Wow.
So just pro tip. If you say, oh, there's so many examples, etc., blah, 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 there's so, be prepared that someone might ask you for an example. And this is just advice for people on the right and people on the left. Because well, you make a claim, you really should be able to back it up in some kind of way, even though people might not like take you at face value. Like people might say, oh, there's all these instances of institutional racism, or some might be like, well, name an example. And then people are like, you know, which, I mean, I could name an example to be frank. Well, my obvious answer is Planned Parenthood, but, or someone on the right, I saw them like arguing with someone and like, well, Trump cut all these regulations, and they're like, well, name one. And then they were just like stunned. Now they instituted a rule that like for every new regulation you had to like cut two or something. So they were like cutting stuff, but just, you know, just little, if you're going to throw that out there, try to have a talking point or something that you can easily research. But I know it's kind of hard to retain a lot of info. Some things that I talk about a lot, like I obviously know a lot and look up a lot of stuff, but even some stuff that's like I put in my book, I'm like, let me look up this thing that I already researched. So some people are just like crazy sponges, like Charlie Kirk just has so much information in his head. I'm like, but some of us have to keep reading and reading and reading and reading to keep returning that sort of information. So yeah, anyway, I like that he checks these people because they make a claim about how much hateful Twitter stuff is, but they don't have any evidence. So, but the thing is that people will equate hate. So like he mentioned, if something's slightly sexist is hateful and that should be banned. Maybe some people feel that way. People tell me that content I make or things that I say are hateful. Like if I say Dylan Mulvaney is a man, they'll be like, well, that's hateful. I'm like, how is that hateful? Or the Jeffrey Marsh stuff, when he says he's non-binary and he says biology is fake, and I'm like, he's not good for kids to say this stuff to kids. I'm like, and people agree that he's wrong about biology being fake, but they'll be mad when I'm like, when I say stuff about him, like you agree with me more than you'd probably disagree, but you just want to double down because you feel like he's in a protected class. So you feel bad and you want to lift him up. So you'll just throw away all sort of logic and whatever spider sense that might be tingling about him being kind of a creep. You'll just get rid of all that because you're like, he's on the spectrum of victimhood. I must uplift him. It's just your brain starts, you know, short circuiting, and you gotta protect him, and it's crazy. And then you'll lash out at other at people who, you know, and start insulting folks. It's just and be like, you're supposed to be kind, you fat bigot. And you know, it's very, very odd the world that we're living in right now. But you could say something true and it'll be just hate. Something like you can't dispute and it'll just be hateful and you want it banned. Someone I said in a video that I'm against hate speech laws, and so many people were like, you're a black woman, how can you say that? And actually someone called me, I think, the N-word to prove a point. And I'm like, I think you're a jerk, but I don't think that should be illegal. Thanks for like outing yourself. What point were you trying to prove? So I'm against hate speech because there's no guarantee what you will define as hate speech that will come back and try to silence me. I can say something that's just common sense and you'll just want it gone. You know, I would rather you have that liberty to call me the N-word for me to be able to say Dylan Mulvaney is a man. To be frank, everyone can see what kind of person you are. That's fine. It's good that we know. But I don't want my speech limited like that. And for what, me to be kicked from social media, or for me to be fined, or me to go to jail because I hurt your feelings saying something that's factual but just something you don't like. No thanks. No thanks. So yeah, I'm not a fan of hate speech because who defines it? Who defines at the end of the day what's hateful? I don't trust you guys with that kind of power. I don't trust the government, and I don't trust my neighbor. I think there's more sane people in the world that we like to give it credit for. But a lot of those same people are also cowards. So there's that. So NPR is really mad, by the way, about Twitter. So they released a statement or a tweet. NPR is stepping away from Twitter, and this includes NPR Politics feed. Please read the thread to find out other ways to find our works, including so they post where else you could find him. But the reason why they stopped tweeting last week after being labeled state-affiliated media, and although Twitter since tweaked the classification slightly to government-funded media, the outlet had already made up its mind. NPR CEO John Lansing justified his decision to stop posting on Twitter by suggesting it would be a disservice to his employees to share their reporting on a platform that is associating the federal charter for public media with an abandoning of editorial independence or standards. I would never have our content go anywhere that would risk our credibility. At this point, I have lost my faith in decision-making at Twitter, Lansing stated. I would need some time to understand whether Twitter can be trusted again. He noted that individual journalists can still post personally on the platform. NPR has described itself as a private, nonprofit company with editorial independence, pointing out that it receives less than 1% of its $300 million annual budget from the federally funded Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The outlet recently changed its bio on Twitter. NPR is an independent news organization committed to informing the public about the world around us. It now states you can find us every other place you read the news. But they are funded, though. It's funny that this is the thing that, I guess I can imagine them being upset over this true thing that they've said. I can imagine them being upset about it, but saying we won't post anywhere where our credibility is questioned I'm just thinking back. There's a lot of like NPR headlines that are sketchy. But if you go back to the Hunter Biden laptop situation, they flat out would not report about it because they thought it was not worth reporting about. They didn't think it was a real story or claimed it wasn't a real story when it obviously was a real story. Here's what they said. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. And we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. So that's what they said at the time. And the New York Post, oldest paper in the country, was locked out of Twitter because they would not delete a true news story. And so where's NPR on that? Standing up for credibility and stuff when Twitter was in different hands doing shady stuff. They were saying we're not covering this story. That's what NPR was doing. So I don't want to hear it. They're full of it. Have been full of it. There's like other examples I could point toward, but I will say I was interviewed by NPR once. I have no idea if they actually aired the interview, but they were interviewing people during the 2020 election. And so, mind you, this is at a time where like people are locked down and other kind of stuff, and but they still had like their reporters traveling and doing stuff, and the jobs of reporters are pretty important. I'll give you that. But I think she was recently, the person who talked to me, they were recently somewhere, I think, where they had an outbreak or something. So I wasn't personally very concerned, and she had like her mask and other stuff like that. But I'm just thinking, why is this so important that you had to fly to Michigan to talk to me about this? If you guys are so concerned about COVID. So I have no idea. I believe I did record the meeting, just in case they cut out something to make me look unfavorable. I don't know if they actually ever posted it online anywhere. We met in my church, which never closed down during the pandemic, by the way. So yeah, I had a little altercation with NPR, but the interview was fine. The interview was fine. I just thought it was funny that at the height of COVID, they were still like flying around the country to talk to voters like that. Would we could have just did a Zoom call or something, but it is what it is. I believe it was also NPR during the midterm elections. They came to Michigan, and they didn't they record or interview a woman while she was having an abortion? Let me double check that. It could have been somebody else, but I think I'm pretty sure it was that. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I can. Yes, NPR. I'm sorry, NPR airs recording of a woman's abortion. And I googled. What did I Google? It was a Catholic website that first popped up. I don't remember what the article title was, but yeah, they recorded. It was them. It was pretty gross, disgusting. Um, like, what kind of sick freaks are you people? So I'm not a fan of NPR. But people are saying, like, it's not an airport, you don't have to announce your departure. So bye. Okay, let me talk about this video that I came across today about biology. And I think I know there's plenty of people who will bow to the pronoun thing and just trying to be respectful. And if someone is trans and they'll, say, hey, they'll use the pronouns to be respectful, whatever. I have a hard line of no. I mean, if you look like a woman and I don't know any better, I guess kudos to you. I didn't know any better, but I can have a conversation with you, just call you by your name, but using the preferred pronouns, I'm not into that. But I'm really not into that because I think it goes deeper than just kind of public, social respectability, which I don't really think it's respectable to be dishonest to people. But I think the point of using the pronouns is because you're trying to perpetuate this untruth that they're actually the different sex or gender. And people are trying to separate sex and gender. That's what people say. And they're like, oh, well, gender is its own different thing. It's a construct. That I don't think people believe that. Not really. I've written articles about that. I've talked about, that, but I really don't think that's true. And I think it's all gonna, or has been circling to a point where they're just like, biology doesn't matter either, because they know they're connected. So this is a example I'm about to show you of someone who's just like to the biology. So this isn't the only person, by the way. So let's give it a watch.
I am a medical school professor specializing in molecular biology. I also have an extensive background in gender studies and queer studies. The idea of sex as an immutable characteristic is a turf talking point that's been around for decades, and it's been weaponized against trans women in particular in the fashion of, oh, but you will always be male and therefore invading female spaces. Sex as it pertains to humans is a construct. It is a set of spectrum variables with bimodal distribution that we draw an arbitrary set of boundaries around into two broad categories, but they are not immutable characteristics. Almost all of those characteristics can be changed through hormones or through surgery. This is literally an argument that gets trans women killed and is the thing that people are using to tell us that we can't change our birth certificates, right? Stop.
So arbitrary, right? Gametes aren't arbitrary though. Like, you either produce sperm or you produce the eggs, right? So it's not, our biological characteristics. There are, some, if you're talking about, some women are taller, some women are shorter, and men can be short, except like there's different reasons why people can be whatever. But I mean, some of our characteristics though are rooted in our biology, particularly because of our sex. I mean, women have mammary glands and stuff, can feed their children when they're, after they give birth, because that's how their biology is. I mean, our pelvises and hips and stuff are different because women have to squeeze a baby through there, so that's a thing. Even though some women are hippier than others. There's a video that someone is going around the internet in some kind of museum or something, and they show the difference between a male pelvis and a female pelvis, and they have a ball just that you push down, and it's very clear the ball cannot go through the man. So there's just some biological realities that you just can't change. Like he's saying that you can change things with hormones. You can change if you got some, chest tissue or whatever that will come flappy and fat like titties, I guess. But a lot of trans men will still have, unless they're like really kind of skinny, a lot of them will have like a pear shape still because those hips, there you can do surgery to like physical surgery and shave your bones down and add breasts and other stuff like that, or sculpt a vagina out of your colon and have that colon smell. It's you can do those things, but it's not gonna change your chromosomes. It's not gonna change the situation with the gametes. It is always going to be what it is. And some people, if the younger you transition, the easier it's going to be you're going to be able to pass. It depends if you go through puberty, but depends how much surgery you get, depends how many drugs you take, but it's still not at the end of the day going to be all good for your body. You're doing very unnatural things to it. So this hysteria about like this is literally getting trans people killed. Do you have some examples of trans women who are literally being killed over being trans? Like someone mentioned the other day, like the same kind of talking point. I said, well, do you have an example of and they're like, are you gonna just, if I present it, are you gonna just worm your way out of it, or are you really sincere with this question? And I'm like, I will acknowledge it if you give me an example of people like being literally killed just for being trans, because that's what they were saying. And so they sent me an article, and I started going through the article, and lo and behold, there's no sort of motive like that to speak of. The person who was killed did happen to be trans, but that doesn't mean that they were killed because they were trans. And there's a really big difference there. But they use that sort of hyper hysterical propaganda, and it just makes people unwell. Like, I don't think this person's very well either, but it makes other people very unwell, especially, other trans kids or young trans, people who think the world is literally out to get them when that it's just not true. But coming for biology is the goal. So people saying that, oh, it's just gender is a social construct, you can just use the pronouns, you can do this or whatever, that's just the surface level. They're gonna try to keep digging till they get to this point where they're like, no, don't even say biological man, biological female. Actually, Jeremy Marsh did a video saying biology is fake. I already mentioned this, but he was like, don't say biological male and don't say biological female. No. So they don't even want you to use those terms. Chloe Cole, which if you're, I don't know, on Twitter or whatever, you've probably seen Chloe Cole and her pursuit to, I guess, avenge her body for her mistreated gender dysphoria. And so she's someone who went on hormones and had a double mastectomy and doesn't have her breasts anymore, and is concerned about, the state of her body, because there's different things that I guess aren't functioning correctly. So she wrote an article, and she wrote words like biological sex, and there was an article, I don't remember who originally did the article, but Yahoo News had reposted it, so that's where I ended up seeing it. And they were talking about how she was a bigot, using like bigoted language, hateful language, like biological male, biological female. So if we can't use biological male or biological female or just male and female with those distinctions, where are we going from here? Where are we going from here? If everyone is just a blob of this is what we feel like, so this is whatever we can be, that doesn't make any sense. So why can't you just be who you are and just acknowledge who you are and just dress the way that you want to dress and wear what you want to wear? Not everybody's going to be cool with that, and you'll still be talked about or whatever, but isn't that easier than trying to totally force the world into this new warped reality? And you know, there's people who are out there who are trans who are just really want to live their life and kind of privately and quietly doing what they feel is best for their mentality. And I have people who follow me who don't like people like this guy and Jeffrey Marsh and Dylan Mulvaney and those they're who are just sick of them and just are trying to live their life and be. And I wish better for them, that they wouldn't feel like they needed to change their bodies or identify in a different way, but them keeping it to themselves and just living their lives, that's different than people going out and trying to reshape reality. So my heart goes out to people who just genuinely want to be left alone, and they're being taken for a ride with the rest of this really aggressive portion of their community. And but if apparently everybody at some point is going to have to stand up and say enough is enough. There's going to have to be the TERFs who do it, the conservatives who do it, the libertarians, and whoever. People are just going to say, like, you know what, there's some bridges that we can't cross here. So speaking of bridges, you can't cross, there's a ballerina, male ballerina, and I don't even mean male ballerina as someone who helps and dances with the girls. There's a trans person who is doing ballet. Now, I saw this story a couple days ago, but there's just more stuff that's kind of coming out, so I decided to go ahead and talk about it. But this particular person would not qualify at all if they were in any other circumstances. So Redux is covering this. They said Twitter's ablaze with discussions over a male dancer who was admitted to a prestigious Royal Academy of Dance. Sophia Rebecca, former IT technician, was accepted into the Academy in 2017 as her first transgender dancer. And they put a clarification. Sophia Rebecca passed his Royal Academy of Dance Intermediate Foundation Ballet exams with merit in 2017 and has performed professionally in the USA since his female ballet dance with female ballet dancers. He began dancing at the age of 33. So here's an example of a side by side to kind of show you how the timing is off with his dancing. I mean, just is like an oaf. Yeah. So I first saw this video or this story pop up. A friend of mine, this is Savvy, if you follow her on TikTok. She's a lot spicier on Twitter. So if you're not following on Twitter, I would follow her on Twitter. So she just pointed out that there are ballerinas who starve themselves, and this isn't a good thing, but they will starve themselves and put their body through heck just to compete, to be the right sort of, shape, body that they want. Like, and I've seen stories of ballerinas who ended up leaving like the practice because they became anorexic or whatever, and it was just so much kind of pressure on their bodies. So for a trans man with that shape, with that body, with the lack of skill, it's more skill than I have. I've never, pursued dance in any sort of way, but that was not the graceful sort of movement of a ballet dancer, even if he were like a male ballet dancer. And it just wasn't good. But there's this, what do they care? He's in their special class of people. So you get the accolades and the awards and all that kind of stuff. And it's just weird. And it's not like people don't notice. It's not like women don't notice how much praise that people in positions like that are getting, as opposed to everyday women. It's very strange. It's very odd. And people see it as unfair. People get very upset about it. When Leah Thomas tied in one of the competitions with a swimmer, they told the female, like, oh, let Leah hold the trophy. And she's like, but I won it too. And they're like, well, you'll get yours in the mail. And they wanted Leah to have the trophy and hold the trophy. It's like, how does that make you feel? You had to compete against a dude and beat a dude, and you did, and you at least tied. He shouldn't even be there. And you have an opportunity to hold your trophy, and they give it to the man, and they're like, you can get yours in the mail. There's a clear hierarchy of that they're making, and women are underneath. And people could say, oh, it's just the patriarchy striking, but that's really not. I don't want to blame it on the patriarchy. Even if you look at, and I've been doing some I read the Bible and stuff. I do a lot of research anyway, but I was listening to someone who, I read Is God a Moral Monster? It's a really good book, but I was listening to this scholar who was talking about the system of the patriarchal system in the Bible, and how, yes, they did, women mined sort of houses and took care of a lot of, if you read Proverbs 31, women actually did a lot within their households and stuff, but the woman was valued for her fertility and being able to carry the family, make the family, but men were also valued for their strength, what they would do in the fields and building and other sorts of things like that. And there was like the male who would be the head of the family, who would help to continue structuring and stuff. So Jordan Peterson has talked in the past, pushing back on, tyrannical male patriarchy in our society and stuff. I'll have to post both videos kind of side to side so you guys know what I'm talking about. But he'll push back and say, it's not that women were so enslaved to men, but we were just kind of enslaved to each other because of how harsh society was. And so I thought, her kind of revelation or explaining how things used to be in the past was pretty, just pretty interesting to me. But men aren't supposed to be like this. Men aren't they're supposed to uplift women, cherish women, protect women. That's masculinity to me. This isn't masculinity to me. This isn't what the patriarchy is supposed to be, just stepping over women and taking things from them. The Bible says a man who, this is like a marriage thing, but a man who, who loves his wife loves himself. Like, you're supposed to treat your wife like you would your own body. Like, you're not supposed to be a jerk. That's not what positive masculinity is at all. So this is just like an attack on civilization. It's not so much attack on, it's like an attack on nature and the order of all things, and the order of design, whether it's an attack on the bitterness being against God and his design, or just natural selection. I don't, but it is very concerning. So here's a video of the of the ballet and all these women giving the flowers to the man here. The audience just cheering like buffoons. Riley Gaines, by the way, we talked earlier this week, I think, was it earlier this week or maybe last week, about her being attacked. She went to a campus for YAF, and the sort of surrounding that they did and the profanity, was really alarming. That just can't be peaceful dialogue or sane dialogue in the least bit. But she had to end up barricading herself in a bathroom, I think, for like 3 hours. And she says that she was punched by a man in a dress or skirt, and her husband wasn't with her. And the police were there, but they still enacted that violence. So there was a statement that came out, an acknowledgement from the Associated Students president, Karina Zamora. On the evening of Thursday, April 6, 2003, the SF state chapter of Turning Point USA hosted Saving Women's Sports with Riley Gaines on the SF state campus, an event that promoted discriminatory rhetoric towards the trans women athletes. The only statement that they should be making is issuing an apology for how abhorrent those students were to Riley Gaines. Anything else is disgusting and embarrassing. During this event, a large group of students, community members, signed up to participate, but most were stopped at the door due to lack of space at the HSS classroom. This resulted in many students having to remain outside of the Turning Point USA event. It was reported to me that students organized that followed the university's time, place, and manner guidelines during the event. Students protesting were coerced and given unwarranted warning cards threatening arrest if they violated the TPM policy. Though TPM was followed by protesters, I believe the enforcement of TPM was weaponized to silence and threaten protesters, and the presence of police were both excessive and uncalled for. I didn't play it live when I talked about it because there was just a lot of swearing in it, and I didn't know how YouTube would respond with that many bleeps. And I was in the studio, and I do have a bleep button. I'm not very good at it, and even if you press it, I think you can still hear it. So I didn't bother embarrassing myself hitting the bleep button. But they were vicious, and if she was in that situation and the police weren't there, that would have been really scary. That would have been really, really concerning. How they were acting, and then her literally hitting her. She was assaulted and forced in a bathroom. And then there was another video of protesters saying, we'll let her go if she pays us all like $5-10 each or something. So these aren't good people. And again, this statement should do nothing but condemn those kids who acted so poorly. SFSU's mission statement calls for the delivery of academic excellence by pursuing knowledge, inspiring creativity, supporting our diverse community, and advancing social justice and positive change in the world that was not positive change, what they're doing, based on a response by the administration and a heavy police presence in response to peaceful protests. Yeah, right. and the threat of arrest aimed towards students upholding the principles of social justice and positive change by speaking out against discrimination and in support of trans people, it is clear that the university administration has failed to uphold the principles on our campus prides itself on. Students organizing and protesting are an integral part of our campus culture. Don't send your kids to college. I was just gonna say to college, but definitely not colleges like these. I would genuinely see if your kid needs a major, where they want in the field they want to go, is whatever they want to learn. Is it something they can learn on YouTube? Like, they're just sending your kids to school to turn them into monsters. This is insane. I, as president of Associated Students, condemn and stand against hateful rhetoric and promotion of violence spread by Turning Point USA and Riley Gaines, as well as the confrontational behavior of the University Police Department at the behest of campus administration. As president of Associated Students and on behalf of the organization, I call on President Lynn Mahoney and her administration to hold themselves accountable and host a community forum to hear how damaging these tactics have been to our student body. I call on the campus administrators to work with our students and community to revisit and amend the current policies and practices to uplift our students and community to uplift our students and voices and protect our student body, including transparency and public sharing with the AS Board of Directors, how the university plans to move forward with plausible action plan. To our trans identifying students, we see you, we hear you, and we are here to uplift your voices. In solidarity, AS President Karina Zamora. That's a dang on shame. That is a dang on shame. That's what they decided to put out in the world, knowing that there's videos of those students being absolutely abhorrent and holding her hostage. She needed that police presence there, and even if you say your students shouldn't be instigated by a police presence, there's some people from, I guess, all over the world who follow me and watch me and stuff. But I've posted some stuff about the Second Amendment. And I'm just like, you guys are crazy if you think that there's a world in which there are these crazy people out here that would do harm to people for just speaking truth in some cases, and that I wouldn't have a way to defend myself, especially since people at least in the past have been arrested and then just back on the streets or whatever. There's an attitude that people have that's really blown up, I think, since Black Lives Matter, George Floyd stuff, that people have just a huge chip on their shoulder that they feel like they're entitled to be crazy and do harm against one another. And you have no right to hold them accountable because they're entitled to their feelings to act out in whatever aggressive manner that they do. And there were aggressive people doing crazy stuff on campuses before this, so I'm not saying specifically a campus sort of thing, but I just mean our crime in general, how it's exploding, and the sort of attitudes that people have. And on top of all that, you got these woke DAs and woke prosecutors who are weak and soft, who don't want to press charges or believe that prisons are just, I don't know, should be abolished. So, and then they want to defund them. And so, like, are they going to get there in a reasonable amount of time to save me if something goes wrong? So I think it's important for people to have some kind of self-preservation. When there's a huge TikToker, she has 1 million followers. She was the one who was really sounding the alarm about Jeffrey Marsh when he was doing his Hey Kid stuff. And so she did a lot of videos responding to people. The left just came and like really attacked her and was like, you're wrong for doing this and saying this. And so I don't know her beyond, like, I didn't really see her content beyond this Jeffrey Marsh stuff. So I can't speak to her character, whatever. I just know that with this issue, she covered it a lot, talked about it a lot. And I thought she put out some good content about it. But eventually she just took it all down because allegedly, I don't know for sure, but this is what according to her, someone had messed up her car. But she said that someone reached out and threatened her kids. And so she was like, please don't mention me, my stuff, or it's already way out there, so it's kind of really beyond that. But she deleted all her stuff regarding it, and which is a shame because she did have a lot of really good content regarding it. But she was scared, and my first thought when I saw that was, oh, that's awful. She should really buy herself a gun. I hope she's armed. That was my first thought. And then I found out she was from the UK. I was like, oh, that's tough. That's tough. So, people who don't understand gun culture in America, I'm just like, I shouldn't have to feel like I need to defend myself like that. Unfortunately, that's just kind of where we are. And I don't think there's enough people who are serious who want to change things for the better. Like, you guys just don't understand how bad the culture of crime is right now. And the sense of entitlement to it. It's very, very alarming, very strange. Very, very strange. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. And please check out my book. Of course, Scott is blatantly against abortion. Very excited. I had my proof copy from Amazon, and they put that stupid mark across it. So this is my one from Barnes and Noble. My sister's like, you in Barnes and Noble? I'm like, yeah. So I'm very excited for this to come out. It'll come out on the 26th. So right now you can pre-order a ebook. If you like it on ebook, I will have it on paperback. I will eventually have it on hardback too. I will also record an audiobook. I have not recorded it yet, but I will hop to that as well. So those different mediums will be out. So make sure that you guys are signing up on the website if you're interested in that sort of content as well. Just heads up, I will be promoting stuff about it a lot. So you're about to see a shift. You'll see a lot of pro-life content if you follow me, because you think and if you're left wing and you think I'm a TERF, like, just heads up, like, that's how it's coming. Winter's coming regarding that particular topic. But I'm very happy. I'm very excited. And again, I hope that it really blesses. Make sure that you guys check out different merch on the website as well. I do have other books as well. I saw Abel in the comments. His kid's really like Super Kid. So I have 15 other books right now. One other nonfiction book. The rest are fiction. I have children's chapter books, and I have books that are ranging on all kinds of different things. Overall, my books are mainly about combating this sort of darker nature of ourselves. So some of them are on the darker side. But I don't glorify evil. So I guess that's the best way I can kind of put it out. Explain my stuff. I don't write sex scenes. I'm more like Fade to Black. There's like kissing and other stuff like that, making out. That stuff's in there, but it's not, I don't do anything raunchy. I don't have swear words. My historical fiction fantasy that takes place in Civil War, it does have the N-word in it. So, but gosh, it's so good. It's so good. I think it's objectively good, not just my opinion because I made it, but I got some good stuff that I hope you guys check out. And lastly, one more thing I'll say before I go. If you like what I do here, please consider going to the website and leaving a donation across the stream or on my website. Thank you for the super chat earlier, for the sticker or whatever it was, but I do appreciate that. I hope that what I do, I've seen people write to me and are appreciative of what I do, but the things that I enjoy the most are when people say, hey, because you do this, because you said this, I'm now having conversations with my neighbors and friends, etc. Because I do think it's important that people have real conversations with people and thought-provoking conversations outside of election time. Because if you wait till election time, when all the propaganda is flowing through, it's entirely too late to really make a difference. At that point in time, during election season, politicians have to kind of move in area. I'm not saying that they should necessarily do this, but they will. But they're running to represent people, so they're going to run to represent issues that they think will get them elected. That speaks to where their constituents are. if you want to change people's hearts and minds before that, you have to do that consistently, 24/7, 365 days a year. So, Black Teen News, we're not every day, but we're, 5 days a week. I think pretty soon I'll go back to doing Saturday nights, as well. So, Tina's in the chat. If you don't follow Tina, Tina's the one who did the art here. So do yourselves a favor, when I'm done, click on Tina and go follow her page if you're interested in anything art. You can go see what stuff she has on her website. She has paintings and all kinds of different stuff. And also she does speed paintings and other kind of stuff on her channel. So go ahead and follow her. She's really, really, really talented. So, yeah, she's saying hello, but we're about to leave. But yeah, take the time and go follow Tina. If anyone is wondering where Tina is on Facebook, she just hopped in on YouTube. But if you're watching on Facebook, I'm not following, but it is following Tina's text portraits. So that's probably the easiest way you can find her on Facebook. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.